In this video, we talk about the biggest mistakes students make when preparing or taking the test. Let's begin.
Mistake number 1. Trying to predict questions rather than understanding how the test works, improving your overall English, and researching ideas. Some students think they would score high if they knew what question they'll be asked. Why is this a big mistake? Well, the first problem with this strategy is that it leads to memorization, which leads to robotic speech, which then affects fluency negatively. The second reason is that examiners can tell if a student has memorized an answer, and this will impact a student's score negatively. Examiners don't want memorized answers because IELTS is not a test where you learn information and answer questions based on the information that you've learned or memorized. It's a practical test. It's there to assess your language proficiency. So memorizing answers is a big red flag for an examiner. Lastly, it's impossible to predict the exact set of questions you will get. So this adds unnecessary stress and it wastes your time. Even if you knew every question you will be asked, you still need to be able to answer those questions in a way that shows you are proficient in English. It's like having a car but not knowing how to drive it. The goal is to learn topic-based vocabulary, use the English you already have, and improve your fluency and pronunciation while understanding how the test works, how you will be assessed, and what each section of the test requires. Mistake number 2, using formal language in the speaking test. When I say formal, I mean overly formal language. Speaking the same way you write, that kind of language. You see, the speaking test is supposed to represent everyday English. So using overly formal language sounds unnatural because in everyday life, English speakers don't use overly formal words. As I've mentioned, the way we speak is different from the way we write. Writing requires formal academic language, but speaking requires informal, everyday speech. Mistake number 3. Thinking you must give an unbiased opinion because your opinion matters in IELTS. This is not true. You are assessed on your ability to express your opinion in English. You are not assessed on your opinion. Why is it a mistake to believe this? Well, worrying about your opinion adds unnecessary stress to your IELTS process, including the preparation and the test itself. So let me dismantle that lie for you. Your knowledge doesn't have to be factually correct, and your opinion doesn't have to be unbiased. Don't spend time concerned about something that you will not be assessed on. Focus on generating ideas and expressing those ideas fluently. Mistake number 4. Focusing on one part of the exam while neglecting other parts of the exam. For example, preparing for the speaking and writing part, but ignoring listening and reading. It's a good idea to focus on the parts of the exam that you struggle with the most, but don't forget to practice the other parts too. A student of mine scored high in speaking and writing, but her reading score was a little bit low, and because of that, she had to retake the test. This could have been avoided. You see, sometimes we think, well, I got this. My reading is okay. My listening is okay. I've done 1 or 2 practice tests, so it should be fine, right? And we neglect our preparation completely. When preparing for IELTS, you have to be consistent. You can't just do 1 or 2 reading tests 3 months before your exam and then completely forget about it and then on the day of your exam, expect to score high on reading. So don't neglect the other parts of the exam, and at the same time, focus heavily on the parts that you struggle with the most. Mistake number 5. Worrying about things that you will not be assessed on, like dress code or accent. Remember, this is a language proficiency test, and the examiners assess you based on the band descriptors. So your body language, facial expressions, dress code, or accent is not something that the examiners care about. Some students believe that speaking in a British accent will help them score higher. This is false, but could lead to a lower score as students sound unnatural and unable to answer questions that show off their English proficiency because they've spent time trying to create a fake accent. Your pronunciation matters, not your accent. Everyone has an accent, and the goal is to pronounce words correctly and speak in a way that the examiner can understand you, and to speak in a way that is clear. But why do we need to know this? What is the harm in believing a few IELTS myths? Well, believing these myths will add unnecessary pressure and stress, which could affect your performance greatly. And it wastes precious time that could be spent on improving your English, time that could be spent on understanding how the test works. So be careful of these myths. Don't make the mistake of believing things that are not true regarding IELTS. Have you made any of these IELTS preparation mistakes? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, especially if you'd like to see a part 2 of this video. See you in the next one.